Alan Astrology Chart _details. Alan has Sun in Gemini with Leo rising, keyword I think with a focus on communications, identifying and classifying. He has a need to produce words and models in order for contacts to be meaningful. Variety is the spice of life. He is happiest when having more than one dominate interest, and when exploring and making tools with his hands. He rebels against the status quo, likes breaking the rules and resisting authority, never yielding individuality to one place or person. As he grows older, he realizes that cooperation is necessary to self-fulfillment. Planets in the houses for Alan. Sun in 10th house 102, ambitious to attain positions of responsibility, power, and authority. Dignified and displays a strong will to succeed. Desires honor and recognition. He generally possesses strong managerial abilities. The word nobility befits him. Moon in Leo 105, emotionally proud with flair for dramatics. There is an unconscious need to be admired and appreciated. Fond of children, parties, art, sports, and entertainment. He needs romance and affections. He will sometimes act as prima donna out of a need to dramatize his feelings. There is a tendency to dominate others, especially those within the domestic scene. His need to love and be loved is a healthy and constructive emotional drive, in most cases. Moon in 12th house 113, moods and emotional responses are strongly affected by the unconscious and by past experiences. Psychic and intuitive leanings are manifest. Extreme emotional sensitivity and reluctance to communicate feelings yields shyness and easily hurt feelings. If the moon rules the 5th, 7th, or 8th houses or strongly aspects Venus or the ruler of the 5th house, there may be secret lover affairs. Alan has moon square Venus, pg 357. Mercury in Gemini 115, ability to perceive the truth. Capable of deep scientific thought. Frazzled nerves from busy environments equals needs periods of solitude to become quiet, meditate, and refocus the mind. Strong identity, they want to know about everything. Alan is by temperament an intuitive thinker, NT. Mercury in 10th house 127, good organizational ability and a capacity to plan for the future. Their careers are not accidental but result from deliberate plans designed to achieve specific goals. Interest in philosophy, law, and higher education. Venus in Taurus 130, he has constant lasting affections. Emotional security and stability in love is important for him. He is loyal and steadfast, although he can be possessive and jealous if his emotional security is threatened. His sense of touch is highly developed and he enjoys physical contact with his loved ones, but he is sensual in a passive way, seeking to attract rather than pursue his love object. He has a love of comfort, luxury, beautiful surroundings, good food, and opulence in general. The money that makes such things possible is important to him. They may take up gardening or growing flowers as a hobby, 30 years in growing boysenberries in San Diego. Venus confers grace, beauty, and rich melodious voices. 12 years in choral singing. Green Vol 2 pg 135, subject to the frog in the well syndrome, not seeing other people's reality. These people have learned to deeply internalize themselves in order to understand who they are and what they need to have a sense of meaning in their lives. They are quite introspective and self-possessed, learn that the only person they can truly rely on is themselves. They can be extremely resourceful and resilient in their ability to sustain themselves, even in the face of overwhelming problems or circumstances. There is a tendency to evaluate and hear others relative to their own value system. In social situations, they typically remain silent and self-enclosed unless there is a commonality of values and experience in which they can then relate to someone else. When a connection is made, they can appear very warm, engaging, deep, intense, highly focused, and have an absorbing quality wherein others can feel drawn into their reality, which now appears magnetic and solid. It is very difficult for these people to give up or let go of anything that holds meaning and value to them because that correlates to their own sense of purpose for living. In intimate relationships, they can be highly possessive of their partners, because of their fear of losing them. They can also attract others who are very possessive of them and who feel very threatened when they manifest any apparent interest in other people. They will also have a very strong sexual instinct or nature. They have a strong, magnetic, earthy sexual energy that reflects a strong integration into their physical bodies. It is very important for them to have a strong, positive, and ongoing sex life. For positive evolution to proceed, they must embrace the Venus in Scorpio polarity, to learn how to listen to other people in such a way as to objectively identify what motivates other people, and learn how other people are psychologically constructed. By learning how to listen to others objectively, to hear what others need and desire, and to support their development, they will attract others who do this for them, and who do not want to possess, control, or limit their own development. Venus in 9th house 143. Love of philosophy, religion, and art. Partners met through universities, churches, long journeys. There is a strong tendency to convert their loved ones to their own religious and philosophic views. Love of religious music and art, choral singing. Mars in Taurus 146. Strong desire for money. Slow to act but great determination and perseverance. Skilled craftsmen, glass blowing. These people can be jealous and possessive, especially where love and sex are concerned. Green, Vol 2, pg 226, a desire nature that seeks to become self-sustaining and self-reliant. An instinctual resistance to accepting or adopting the value systems of anyone else, including the value system of the existing society. Generates a defiant stance of separateness and independence from the overall circumstantial conditions of society. Self-reliance will be learned though. Dynamics. Seeks to use sexual energy as a vehicle for the metamorphosis or emotional and psychological limitations. Can focus on sex for its own sake, intense physical stimulation only, or uses the intensity of the sexual experience to unlock the depths of the emotions that lead to the soul. The real lesson begins when he transmutes profane sex into sacred sex. For progress to evolve, he must create a desire to focus on the nature of his motivations, desires, intentions, and overall psychological dynamics, move from "this is just the way I am" to "this is why I am this way." Mars in 9th house 159. Interest in travel, religious, social causes. Crusader in promoting ideals. Personal identification with a favorite religion, political, philosophic, which provides a sense of self-importance. Jupiter retrograde in Scorpio 169, has interest in occult, mystical aspect of religion, in life after death, telepathic communications with those of the unseen realms. Tendency to acquire secret information regarding the private affairs of other. There may be a desires to manipulate occult forces for personal gain. Jupiter in 4th house 176. Good fortune in second half of life, often inherit land and property from parents, father's inheritance, or other family members. Family members may be a burden because of heavy expenses incurred in supporting them. Retrograde Jupiter, self-expansion was not achieved in some past life. The I concept accomplished along negative lines. Lack of compassion, generosity, sociability, broad-mindedness. Lesson: develop firm consideration for others who enter his authority and presence. Saturn in Leo 185. Need for importance and recognition and a compulsive drive for personal control of their environment, int J. Need to defend ego results in stubbornness and rigidity. An afflicted Saturn, square Mars/Venus, more other trines, conjunctions, can bring disappointments in love or problems through children as well as through financial speculation. Saturn in 12th house 199. Much time in seclusion or working behind the scenes in large institutions, universities, corporations, and government agencies. Saturn afflicted, square Mars, Venus, means loneliness and depression. Need to get away from their own psychological problems by serving others and by energizing themselves in practical constructive work. Subnotes: see Saturn, Alan has Venus con Mars. Venus SQ Saturn 366. Melancholy disposition, blocked emotions, oversensitive to ordinary misfortune. Mars SQ Saturn 371 harsh disposition, difficulty in relating. Continuous frustrations. No follow-through on projects that have been initiated. Uranus in Gemini 201 progenitors of a new way of thinking. Brilliant, original, intuitive minds. New concepts in science, literature, education, electronics, and communications media. Uranus in 10th house 212 unusual profession and reputation. Leader in scientific, occult, electronics, math and astrology. Innovations in methods and techniques. Unwillingness to submit to routine responsibility. In politics they have a tendency towards conservatism. Demands and needs freedom where they work and are happiest when they can regulate their own career activities. Neptune retrograde in Gemini 215 generational 1942 to 1957. Neptune in 2nd house 219 idealistic about money and the use of material resources. Retrograde, neglected or misused spiritual development. Atlantean involvement. Not above deceitful and fraudulent activities in past life. Lesson, need to develop qualities of honesty and establish values around materialism. Pluto in Leo 226 generational 1939 to 1957. Pluto in 12th house 235 regeneration of the unconscious mind by bringing its contents into consciousness, reverse speech. He is learning the lessons of faith. Interest in psychology, occultism and mysticism. Highly developed intuitive powers. An unconscious telepathic sensitivity to the thoughts, feelings, and motives of others. Tendency to withdraw into privacy and seclusion, int J. May take secretive actions against those he dislikes. Progressed planets. Alan has 2 retrograde planets in his natal chart, Jupiter and Neptune. Progressed Neptune went direct on May 3, 1972 during tour of AF duty. Progressed Jupiter went direct on July 22, 1998 around moving to Del March. Progressed Moon went retrograde on January 2, 1984 meeting with DG. And resumed direct April 2, 2008. Squares, 7. Sun SQASC 356 inner and outer conflicts. Difficulty in making himself understood and relating to public, partner, and spouse. Moon SQ Venus 357 domestic problems, delayed marriage. Taken advantage of in giving too much trust to spouse or partner. Moon SQ Jupiter 358 emotional excess, imprudent and extravagant at times. Venus SQ Saturn 366 melancholy disposition, blocked emotions, oversensitive to ordinary misfortune. Venus SQ Pluto 369 intense emotional and sexual involvements. Marriage may be too motivated by the desire for financial security rather than abiding love. Secret love affairs. Mars SQ Saturn 371 harsh disposition, difficulty in relating. Continuous frustrations. No follow-through on projects that have been initiated. Mars SQ Pluto 373 overly forceful nature. Reason plus discipline plus diplomacy equals energy for great achievement. Jupiter SQASC 377 awkwardness to manner of expression and relating to others. Conjunctions. Moon Con Saturn 286 emotionally and materially connected. Emotions are chained to past memories. Lack of joy. Practical realism and common sense. Moon Con Pluto 287 intense feeling, strong-willed psychic, open to super-physical realms of manifestation. Spiritualism gives awareness to discarnate. Let the past die and create anew. Deal drastically with family, tendency to be overbearing. Mercury Con Uranus 292 mental genius, originality. Quick mind, intuitive insight, telepathy. Interest in science, electronics, electronic forms of communications. Independent and will not accept ideas simply on the basis of tradition. Arrives at original solutions. Venus Con Mars 296 passionate involvement of all types, vitality to emotional nature. Intense love of life and emotional nature. Creative. Generous and outgoing. Forms relationship with transcendent or spiritual principles. Soul attracts those who have been part of or linked in past life. Saturn con Pluto 311 Magician and structure systems. Ideas and projects can transform the world. Sextiles, 60-degree aspects. Sun SX Saturn 328 Patience and self-discipline. Moon SX Mercury 331 Good memory and mental abilities. Moon SX Uranus 333 Able to let go of the past. Mercury SX Pluto 336 His mental preparation can manifest itself in the ability to understand the causes and energy behind the outward structure of things. He expresses himself powerfully and effectively. An abundance of willpower, intent, allows the intellect to probe deeply into any field of interest. He has creative and intellectually original. Saturn SX Uranus 346 Self-discipline, focus, works behind the scenes. Neptune SX Pluto 349, generational. Trines, 120-degree aspects. Sun TR Neptune 387 Intuitive ability in art, music, religion, mysticism, and the spiritual guidance of others. Ability to spiritually uplift and physically heal those he comes into contact with. Mercury TR Neptune 395 possesses highly developed visualization that lets him see mentally any object or process in complete detail as though he is actually looking at it. Psychic premonitions accompany his visions with an ability to understand the premonitions better than all others without this aspect. Success is achieved through subtly infiltrating the minds of others rather than openly declaring his attempts to win them over. Mars TRASC 404 Strong physical constitution. Neptune TR North Node 412 Intuitive ability, in tune with the times. Questions from Green's second book on Pluto. Retrograde Venus, Green Vol 2, P130 which Alan does not have, but identifies with very strongly. Establish an inner relationship with themselves, ours, inner family. Inner questioning. Primary focus on self-sustainment, self-reliance, self-empowerment. Different drummer. Deeply introspective, introverted, I of INTJ. Enigmatic or difficult to understand. Uniquely define their relationship in some way so as to reflect the principle of individuation. Deep inner reflection, examination, and questioning. Never comfortable with reaching a degree of comfort in their lives. Not so much. Needs a partner who also demands and needs to evolve and grow from within themselves. Typically quite silent and withdrawn in relationship. Reliving past live relationship dynamics in the current life. Karmically and evolutionarily determined to re-meet people known in other lifetimes in which something has not been finished or resolved. Venus in Taurus, Green Vol 2, P135, Alan has this and identifies with it strongly. Deeply internalizes in order to understand who I am and what is needed in order to have a sense of meaning in life. The only person that he can truly rely on is himself. Resourceful and resilient in ability to sustain. Sense of meaning determines what is valued. Tends to evaluate and hear others relative to his own value system, what needs to be worked on via Venus in Scorpio. No common thread equals unable to relate to others. He will typically remain silent and self-enclosed unless there is a commonality of values in which to relate to someone else. It is difficult to give up or let go of anything that holds meaning and value because that correlates to a sense of purpose for living, spiritualism, engineering, reverse speech, inner states. He feels threatened when another manifests any interest in others. He has strong sexual instinct and nature, magnetic earthly sexual energy that reflects a strong integration into his physical body. Taurus is one of self-reliance and self-sustainment, long periods of cycles in life in which sexual needs are not met. Had to narrow focus to that which is specific to life's purpose. Aspects of life that are not relevant to purpose are tuned out. Lesson: Alan needs to embrace and get to know his polarity of the Venus and Scorpio orientation in order to develop he needs to learn how to listen to other people in such a way as to objectively identify what motivates other people and learn how others are psychologically constructed. Having a relationship with a woman who has Venus in Scorpio might help in this. This is spelled out in the Green Vol 2 book, P160, Polarity to Taurus. Note, Venus was in Scorpio during some periods from October 14, 47 to November 6, 47, November 26, 48 to December 19, 48, September 15, 49 to October 9, 49, October 28, 50 to November 20, 50, December 8, 51 to January 2, 52, September 28, 52 to October 22, 52, November 13, 53 to December 5, 53, September 7, 54 to January 5, 55. Likewise, a woman with Venus in Scorpio needs to embrace the native Venus in Taurus orientation that Alan has. Her lesson is to learn how to relate the nature of emotional reality as it is without concealing it, altering it through misrepresentation, or representing it in oblique rather than direct ways. Learning this brings learning how to discriminate who should or should not be in her life. She needs to realize that every projected need she creates is connected to some deep inner wound with a desire that another somehow repair that wound, but by doing Venus in Taurus she learns how to repair the wound from within herself, rather than expecting Alan to do that. Zoom in on any given emotion, feeling, sensation, thought, in order to understand the causal factor, the why of its origin. Understanding the causal factor leads to self-knowledge or understanding. They desire to know what motivates others and what that person's intentions are for wanting to be part of their lives. Tests will be made of those who want to be close. Mars/Pluto aspects, almost 270 degrees from Pluto counterclockwise to Mars, disseminating phase. It is necessary for the soul to learn everything there is to learn about the nature of the existing society that its incarnation is born into. Square is preparing the soul for another key evolutionary development. Mars in Taurus P226. Become self-sustaining and self-reliant. Instinct resistance to accepting or adopting the value system of anyone else. Defiant stance of separateness and independence. Seeks to use sexual energy as a vehicle for metamorphosis of emotional and psychological limitations. Lessons: transmute profane sex to sacred sex. Create a desire to focus on the nature of motivations, desires, intentions, and overall psychological dynamics. Move from "this is the way I am" to "this is why I am." 30.